AI is creeping its way into every facet of your life. Google searches now include AI summaries that suggest putting glue on your pizza. Scammers are generating fake videos of celebrities trying to sell a dropship product. Writers and artists are losing jobs to computer programs that cobble together existing works into a Frankenstein slurry that executives think is art. AI isn't being used as a tool to improve human lives, but as one that's being used to deceive the unknowing and to remove humanity from the arts. It's a tool that's been used to extract as much money as possible for as little effort as possible. Not only is there a human cost to this wave of generative AI, but there's an environmental cost as well. The massive crypto boom of the early 20s was an emissions nightmare as thousands of powerful computers guzzled countless kilowatts mining away for fake internet dollars, but AI is making crypto look like child's play. Cryptocurrency can be mined as long as you had a PC and a decent graphics card, but AI generation takes way more horsepower than that. Most AI models require supercomputers that require significantly more power than a crypto rig, and they're in high demand from users worldwide. It's estimated that generating 1,000 images creates roughly the same amount of emissions as driving your gas-fueled car for 4 miles. Now consider that hundreds, no, thousands of people are likely generating a new image every second, and that's only one type of generative AI. Consider the rise of video generation. 24 to 60 images just for 1 second of video. If you were to generate a single minute of video, that could be up to 3,600 images, the equivalent of a nearly 15-mile drive. Pair this with the countless folks out there relying on ChatGPT for their essays, business presentations, or even text messages, and this starts to get out of control. In 2023, Google's environmental report stated that the company used 5.6 billion gallons of water. That's right, billion, with a B. And 2024 is shaping up to be even worse. If we thought that the consumption of AI was bad last year, I shudder thinking about the environmental impact this year is going to have. I'd like to think of video games as an escape from reality, but these stats reminded me of a game that serves as a cautionary tale of what happens when technology goes unchecked. A game that released nearly a decade ago, but somehow managed to be prophetic of the techno-dystopia the world is devolving into. A game that warned of a future driven by AI. A game called Rain World. Now, before we go any further, I want to slam down a little disclaimer. I used to work at Adult Swim Games, and I did some QA work on Rain World. It's actually how I first discovered the game, and how I first fell in love with it. However, I wasn't involved with the development of the game itself, just the testing, and I don't have any insight or impact on the game any deeper than what's publicly available. Don't come to me as an authority on Rain World canon. This is just my interpretation of what I understand. Also, this will definitely have spoilers for Rain World. It's a gorgeous, beautiful, and haunting experience, and the adventure you can have with it is one of a kind. That said, I'll avoid spoiling the Slugcat's journey and only share the details of the world it lives in. These details are kind of impossible for a new player to discover. In fact, I have beaten the game multiple times and never learned any of this during my playthroughs. I learned most of this through reading the wiki and through watching some videos because I wasn't skilled enough to discover the lore. If you want to go in completely fresh, I totally understand. Feel free to drop off the video and go play Rain World. I'll drop some links in the description. But that's the final warning, so... Rain World is the story of a climate disaster caused by rich people solving their problems with AI. If you've never played Rain World, but you have heard of it, you probably know what a Slugcat is. You play as one of these spry little critters as they try to explore the harsh, cruel world that they live in. Based on that description, you'd expect this game to take place in something like a jungle or some other form of wilderness, but no. The world of the Slugcat is filled with abandoned structures that are the only remnant of a technological society that disappeared eons ago. The first thing you learn as a Slugcat is to stay out of the rain. This isn't like your daily Seattle drizzle. No, this is a torrential downpour that will annihilate anything in its way. The ones who built these structures were prepared, and built shelters for surviving the rain. While it's not clear how long the rain lasts, it's theorized that it could last for days to months, since when a Slugcat rests, it's referred to as hibernation. When the rain lets up, there's only minutes to hours of respite before the rain comes pounding back down again and you need to seek safety. This otherworldly weather isn't the result of some foreign biome on an alien planet, but rather something a little more like home. Rainworld's titular rain is a climate disaster that resulted from a dead society's reliance on artificial intelligence. If you're a fan of the Slugcat, good news! The rest of the video won't contain any story spoilers for its adventure. The bad news is, we're never talking about Slugcats again. There are these people known as the Ancients. Now, I don't know if it's literal or metaphorical, but these people were trapped in an endless cycle of death and rebirth, and they wanted a way out. Eventually, these ancients stumbled upon this pool of mysterious liquid that dissolved anything that it came in contact with, dubbed void fluid. Not only could it annihilate objects, but if a person took a dip, they'd dissolve and never come back. The ancients found their answer on how to disappear completely: void fluid baths. When someone decided it was time to move on, they'd go for a swim in the void fluid and ascend to the next reality. While it was a simple process for many, those with a massive ego or those too attached to their worldly possessions lost their bodies but couldn't fully pass on, trapped between life and death as a corporeal cosmic horror, known as an echo. Not wanting to become a horrifying being beyond human comprehension, many ancients abandoned the idea of void fluid baths. Many would try to break the cycle by humbling themselves, subsisting on tea and gravel as a way to rid themselves of earthly desires. But those with riches and status? They didn't want to resort to living like a peasant. But they didn't want to risk echo purgatory either with the void bath, so they searched for a new solution. The ancients weren't smart enough to solve the ascension problem themselves, so they built computers to do it for them. Supercomputers that ran an AI known as the Iterators. You know those early computers the size of refrigerators? Yeah, the Iterators make those look like a choking hazard. Imagine the biggest city you can think of. Now imagine a desolate wasteland for miles beyond that. All of that could fit just on the top surface of an Iterator's can. These are superstructures so tall that they'd break the cloud cover, and so vast that cities could be built on top with room to spare. The main objective of the Iterators was to solve the reincarnation problem, but the ancients would come to them with other problems too, mostly mundane ones. Let's think on this for a second. A computer dedicated to a complicated task, such as solving immortality, along with solving a bunch of society's mundane problems, that would take a really serious cooling system. Do you think 5.6 billion gallons of water would do the trick? These Iterators used oceans worth of water to cool their systems, and the water would get so hot that it would turn to steam. That steam reached the sky, and when it cooled, it would return to the earth as rain. Cool, you're probably thinking. Thanks for telling me about the water cycle. Well, consider this. When billions of gallons of water all go up at once, they've all got to come down at once too. The torrential rainfall that endangered Slugcat lives? That's all just condensation from these massive computers cooling themselves. The rich and powerful wanted a solution to their problems that didn't involve giving up their earthly desires, so they created an AI to do it for them. And in the process, they created a climate crisis that doomed the planet. Thankfully, this is all fiction, and when we return to the real world, Oh. While the ancients' quest to ascend isn't identical to the real-world quest for wealth that's fueling the modern AI boom, it's not difficult to find the parallels. Generative AI is being used to do work that's usually a human's job: writing and art. Just how the Iterators were created to solve what was essentially a philosophy problem. There's only so much a computer can do. Finding out how to move on to the next life isn't something you can solve like a math problem. Same with doing writing or art. These solutions were presented by the wealthy, since they're the only ones with anything to gain from them. Here on Earth, generative AI mostly benefits executives and shareholders, as this allows them to quit paying hard-working artists and writers. In the world of the ancients, void baths were a sufficient enough option for ascension. Only those with significant wealth, status, or ego were at risk of becoming trapped as an echo. Yet that threat to the 1% was a big enough issue to build supercomputers to discover a new way to ascend. With the Iterators causing lethal storms, the surface of the world became completely uninhabitable. There was no way to live below the cloud cover, so the ancients moved to the one place safe from the rain, the top of the Iterators. Their previous lives were gone forever, and one ancient lamented this by saying, "By now, living on the surface is laughable. We are across the river and have kicked out the boat." Earth is reaching this point as well. We're inching ever closer to the point of no return from climate change, but there's been no effort to stop that. Instead of focusing on reducing emissions or creating more sustainable energy sources, the pursuit of wealth has driven companies to court cryptocurrencies and AI. These technologies are wasting countless kilowatts of electricity and billions of gallons of water, pushing us ever closer to the brink of climate collapse. We're across the river, and greed is getting ready to kick that boat away. And you know what? Writing and images generated by AI aren't a worthwhile solution to replace human works. Crypto isn't a worthwhile solution to anything unless you want to buy drugs, What other stuff's illegal? The same thing is true of the Iterators. The Ancients all eventually ascended with no help from their oversized computers. The Iterators never solved the great problem. They never learned how to ascend. These AIs, both modern generative AI and the Iterators, are pointless. They were created to solve a problem, but in the end, the human solution is still the better one. Regardless of that, the Iterators remained even after all the Ancients were gone, leaving behind a climate impact that made their planet near uninhabitable, which is likely what's going to happen here on Earth. The destruction of Earth's climate will persist, even after the humans who did it are long forgotten. Video games are meant to be an escape from reality, but sometimes they're a mirror of it. Rainworld was in development before the crypto craze or the AI boom, yet its story is more relevant today than it was in 2018. I strongly recommend picking up this game, as it's the definition of games as art. I also recommend doing what you can to fight climate change, whether it's reducing your impact or getting out there to influence bigger changes, and to go out there and fight the adoption of AI and crypto. I want to thank the awesome folks at the Rainworld FanWiki and DaZombies for being amazing sources of Rainworld lore, along with the team at VideoCult for making such an amazing game, and the team at Akapara for helping keep Rainworld alive. But most importantly, thank you for watching my video, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye!